The problem with most people's excuses is that they might actually be valid. But here's the thing, it might not be your fault, but it's still your problem. So if I had to name one thing which was holding me back for most of my life, it would probably be my own mind. I would constantly make excuses like, oh, I can't lose weight because I have terrible genetics, or I can't read because I have ADHD, or I'm not going to be able to ever get into a healthy relationship because I have this and that trauma. And the funny part about it is that those excuses are fucking valid, like they make sense. You can't really judge someone who would come up to you and say that they can't lose weight because they have horrible genetics or they have ADHD and that's the reason why they can't focus and read, or they've been treated badly when they were a child and that's why they can't get into a relationship. So like you can't really judge that. I mean, you can obviously judge everything, but you would probably try giving advice to that person, but let's be honest, most people won't listen. Like if you see someone who's overweight and you ask them to list out as many reasons as they can to not lose weight or why they can't do it, they would probably give you like 100 or even more, or they would focus on one and tell you like 100 reasons why that one thing is stopping them from achieving that result, which is like getting fit. And once again, those reasons would probably make sense. They would be valid. Like you could try and break down why they're not valid, but that person is still going to believe what they believe because that's safe to be inside that kind of a bubble so that they can justify themselves. The overall point I'm trying to make is that you could think of hundreds, if not thousands, of excuses as to why you can't do X, Y, or Z. And all of those excuses, or reasons if you wish, they're all valid as well. And the thing that I wish I had realized so much earlier is that if I wanted to live a better life, I had to simply rise above my excuses, because some things were not my faults, but they were still my problems. And only after I've gone through a very long process of realizing and implementing stuff was I finally able to flip the switch and change the entirety of my life. So in this video, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. It's going to be split into 3 main parts, so you can skip around to whatever you feel like you need to, but I suggest that you watch this video from the start to the end to get the full picture and understand how it actually works. But before we begin, if you're watching this, then there is a very good chance that you're somewhat like me. So if you care about improving your mindset performance, make sure to check out my free email newsletter where every single week I send out a lot of useful information. I'm pretty sure you're gonna find it interesting if you're anything like me, so go ahead, subscribe to that, link is in the description. Let's get into it. Part 1. The mind trap. Most young people are slaves to their minds. They feel physically sick, fall short, indulge into instant pleasures, overthink, and don't trust themselves. Which, by the way, is exactly where I was 2 years ago. Now, if you actually think about it, what is the thing which is causing all of it? Because we kind of know what we do. We know who we are and we know what we want, hopefully. But still, most people struggle to make sense out of what their mind is trying to do. In my view, the reason to that is uncertainty, which later on causes anxiety, the feeling that most young people are extremely familiar with and unfamiliar with. I struggled bad with anxiety and it ruled my life for months when I was in the lonely chapter. But here's the thing, you can't escape the uncertainty. You don't know the future whatsoever, there is nothing you can do to know the future. But what you can do, and what you probably should do, is you can learn to work with or eliminate the anxiety. And you do that by learning to trust yourself. But first, what is anxiety? In my view, and that's something that I learned from Alex Samozi, anxiety happens when you have too many options or too many things that you could do. For example, you have 5 different YouTube videos that you could watch, but you only have 15 minutes before you have to go to school or to work or whatever. Let's say that all of those videos are extremely interesting, you're super passionate about topics of all of those videos, but once again, you only have 15 minutes, so you have to choose one of those videos. You sit there, you look at all of them, you can't decide because all of them are extremely interesting, and that's the moment when you feel the anxiety, because you feel like if you pick that specific video, you're not going to be able to watch that video, and that video, and that video, so you have to pick one and only stick to one, which is extremely scary because you fear to miss out. And the reason why you feel anxious in this kind of situation is because you simply have no priority as to which of those videos is more interesting to watch, like which topic do you actually care more about. To wrap it all up, essentially not having priorities or commitment to things that you choose to do will probably give you some sort of anxiety. The solution consists of 2 steps. Step 1 is choosing something regardless of whether it's the perfect option and executing on it. And step 2 is learning to trust yourself, as we discussed previously. Choosing something regardless of whether it's the perfect option and executing on it means essentially just that. Instead of trying to pick a time for the most optimal workout, you just simply go to the gym right there and then when you thought about it, or as soon as you're free. Hopefully the analogy makes sense. Deciding fast is very important, but not just deciding, but also executing on that decision. Here's one of the quotes by Chris Williamson which completely blew my mind. Perfectionism is a procrastination masquerading as quality control. Now, this quote can piss a lot of people off, but I think that we can all agree on the fact that most people who claim to be perfectionists aren't actually doing the work most of the time. There are thousands of reasons to that, but that's the topic for another discussion. The point I'm trying to make is that, like there's this famous experiment that they made where a ceramics teacher divided their class into two main groups. To group A, which was the quantity group, he said that they were going to be graded on the amount of pots that they make. So if they make 50 pounds of pots, for example, they get an A. If they make 40 pounds of pots, they get B, and so on. To group B, he said that they were going to be graded on one single pot. So they had to make it perfect straight away, and they were going to get an A if it was perfect. And the thing that they found out at the end is that the highest quality pot was made by the group which had the quantity task, not the quality one. After making so many pots, they simply became a lot better than the group who just had to make one pot and make it perfect, because they were able to learn from their mistakes, iterate, and so on and so forth. So the point I'm trying to make is that you can obviously try and pick the perfect option, but more than likely you're not going to succeed with it from first attempt. So just pick something, execute on it, and don't think of it being perfect. 99% of the time it's not going to be perfect, and perfect doesn't exist. Your mind is trying to fool you all the time. It's totally irrational whatsoever, and it doesn't care about what you want to achieve, so it's going to put traps for you to fall into everywhere. That's the reason why you procrastinate, sabotage yourself, and indulge into the bad habits, even though you're fully aware that it's not good for you. We all do it, that's just how the mind works. And escaping that is a process. For some people it will take more time, for some people less, but the point is just do something. Literally anything. Pick something you feel as though it makes sense and just execute. So that's probably the biggest problem that I see with most young people, that they just simply are too scared to choose at least something. They're too scared to try because more than likely they're gonna fail, and they know it. And this kind of mindset and attitude snowballs into not trying anything at all at the end. You've likely broken too many promises to yourself. I'll stop, I'll do it tomorrow, this time is different, and now your subconscious mind doesn't believe a single word that you say. And as I was writing this, I literally started having some flashbacks from how terrible it feels. Now you might be wondering, okay, cool, but how do I actually do it? We'll get to that later on, but if you want at least one action step, then here it is. Make a non-negotiable daily activity and stick to it no matter what. It can be journaling, meditation, training, reading, etc. This will force you to build your self-trust. There are three main ways of how your mind can make you feel when something bad happens. It can make you feel sorry for yourself, it can start to beat you up from inside, and it can make you feel numb. Let's say you did something bad or something embarrassing happened. Just try and close your eyes and visualize that kind of situation. How does your mind automatically make you feel when you imagine this? Does it make you feel sorry for yourself, like you don't deserve this to happen to you? Or does it start to beat you up from inside, telling you that you're a failure, that you don't have to try ever again and whatever? Or does it just try to pretend that nothing happened and put you into this numb state of emotional being? And yeah, those depend on many factors such as childhood experiences, traumas, genetics, the shadow self, and a whole bunch of other things. We're not going to get into that in this video. The point is, your mind is taking the defense position. It's trying to protect itself because it doesn't trust your ability to figure things out. Thus, you might also be struggling with things like taking too long to make a simple decision. Remember we talked about the YouTube videos? That's exactly the same thing. When you stand there in the supermarket and you have two kinds of ice cream and you just simply can't pick between those two because those two are nice, this one is cheaper but this one is more tasty, this one is less junk but that one is even more cheap, so whatever, like you get the point. And I was this kind of person, and if you struggle with it right now, then the reason to that is because your mind simply doesn't trust you to make a good decision. Because if you pick the wrong ice cream, it's your fault. You're only going to blame yourself for it. And that's the last thing that your mind wants. Like, you would better to not choose anything than just choose one thing, realize that it's not the best option, and then blame yourself. Like, that's the worst possible outcome for the anxious mind. And funny enough, the only way out is true. The only real way to start trusting yourself is pick, fail, realize that you failed, pick another thing, fail again, pick another thing, fail again, and then figure it out as you go. You have to know how to adapt. You just simply have to figure it out even if you fail. So that's like the whole point of the discussion, because the only thing that you have to convince your mind is that whatever happens, whatever you choose, whatever are the consequences, you can handle it, and it's going to start trusting you. Because at the end of the day, you don't really learn by thinking, you learn by doing. Part 2. Agency. From about 10 to 14 years old and pretty much my whole conscious life, I used to have really weird hobbies that nobody at that place in time really knew even existed. I used to be obsessed with things like origami, rubber bands, speed cubing, and probably like 3 or 4 more after in between of those, and then video games, the weirdest things that you can possibly think of. Now, the concept of high agency is something that I came across fairly recently, and the beautiful algorithm of X made me come across George Muck's essay on that exact topic. It's completely phenomenal, it's beautiful, you can go and read that, it's easy to find You can just type high agency George Mack into Google search, you're gonna find it. And as I was reading that, I started immediately drawing some parallels between myself in that essay. So I was trying to relate, or even not like relate, but understand if I was a part of that. And one of the concepts that really stuck in my mind was this one. One of the ways to spot people with high agency is weird teenage hobbies. Teenage years are the hardest time to go against social pressure. If they can go against the crowd as a teenager, they can go against the crowd as an adult. And yeah, by the way, I'm not trying to claim that I'm some like super high agency person, but that's just a kind of interesting parallel that I noticed. But what is high agency anyway? Here's the way that you can probably define it, and by the way, I took this explanation from ChatGPT and some other sources. High agency in humans refers to the ability to take ownership of your life and outcomes, regardless of external circumstances. It's a mindset where you believe that you have control over your decisions and you act accordingly. People with high agency tend to take responsibility rather than blame others, see obstacles as problems to solve, not excuses to quit, adapt quickly instead of waiting for perfect condition, focus on what they can control even in chaotic situations. Examples: a student who doesn't get the best teacher but still figures out how to learn the material on their own, high agency. Someone who was dealt bad hand in life but refuses to act as a victim, high agency. To make it simple to understand, here's a visual that I also took from George Mack's essay. We can see a guy on the left using wooden boards to write down the word help in hopes that someone will come and rescue him, and the other guy, and I don't know, that might simply be the same guy who's gotten smarter, he took those pieces and built a little raft for himself and swam away, which is high agency. Now we could argue like, okay, maybe that would actually make more sense to kind of lay out the word help than it is to swim away, because there are a lot of sharks, there are storms, and you're probably gonna die even if you try to swim away. But risk is kind of the point, because what are the chances of that guy who laid out the word help actually surviving if nobody notices him? He's probably gonna die without water to drink and food to eat in a couple of hours or days in best case scenario. And the guy who's swimming away at least is getting some chance to getting closer to other humans and getting rescued as a result of that. And one more probably counterintuitive point to that is that high agency people often tend to be more optimistic and enthusiastic rather than nihilistic and negative. But why should you care? Now this video is called How to Stop Being a Slave to Your Anxious Mind. And high agency is exactly one of those things which is designed to deal with things like the mind trap. It's essentially the opposite, as I said. It's not passivity and it's not helplessness. When you have agency, it becomes easier to navigate the whole chaos of mind, the anxiety, the fear, the whatever, because you'll often be able to know what is happening, know why it is happening, and know how you can make it better. Now, I want to make this clear. You're still going to feel those things because you're a human and that's completely okay. But you're going to be able to find solutions so much faster because you're simply going to be aware of what is going on exactly and what you can do about it and what's happened in the past and what's likely to happen in the future. So you're going to kind of analyze things, which is going to make so much more sense and it's going to be easier to solve. Part 3. The way out. You see, most people don't even try to get out. But why? Is it because they're lazy, or is it because they're stupid, or is it because they don't want to improve their lives? No, my friend. The reason why most people don't even bother to try and get out is because they've been trapped inside of their own heads for so long, and it started to kind of make sense for them that they feel that way, that it kind of became their new reality. So they simply don't see other options. Once again, it's not that they're lazy, or it's not that they don't want to change, but they just simply don't know that that option exists, if that makes sense. They've been living in a lie for so long that it became a reality. And 99% of people who try to get out at the end of the day are not going to get out, because the deeper you sink in the shit, the harder it is and the more painful it is to realize how difficult it's going to be to change and how much sacrifice it's actually going to take. You can't skip the struggle. The only way to break free from the mind trap, or the endless cycle of excuses, or the constant self-sabotage, is to face it step by step. It's not going to be quick and it's certainly not going to be easy, but the more you try to avoid it, the more you try to run away from it and do nothing about it, the deeper you're going to sink into the shit and the harder it will be to get out eventually. Now, I don't want to sound like some guru because I'm still figuring things out myself, but if I was able to gain your trust so far by sharing my story and telling you what you can do in order to escape it, then the points that are going to follow this might stick into your head and you might find them extremely valuable, because that's exactly what I did in order to escape the mind trap myself. And yeah, by the way, if you're actually still watching this video, then there's a high chance that you're going to be one of those like 1% of people who actually manage to get out and make the change. So congratulations on that. Alright, so step 1 is gaining your self-trust. Listen, you have to add consequences for your failure. If you mess up, you have to take responsibility for that, and not in the way where you try to kind of blame yourself inside of your own mind and try to tell yourself that you're a failure like you've probably done before. It's not gonna work, don't try to do that. It's a weak way to handle things. You can think of it this way. If tomorrow I go into my urges to eat junk, I'll run for 30 minutes non-stop on the treadmill. This makes your words cost you something, and that's how you make your brain take your commitments seriously. Without consequences, your mind will shrug off the importance of your promises. So if there's no real consequence for breaking your word, your brain is just simply not gonna stick with it. That's how human nature works. And another point is that you'll learn to trust yourself by going into the unknown and figuring it out. Start approaching people and asking how they feel. Give that girl a compliment. Raise your hand and ask a very stupid question that you think everyone has understood but not you in your class. And yeah, by the way, that's a scary one, I agree on that. But that's exactly the point. You have to go into the unknown, feel the embarrassment, and know that after that you're still going to be okay. That's exactly the point, so try and do that. Step 2, and that's a very huge one, prioritize your physical health. One thing that my body reminds me of all the time is that if I treat it like shit, it's gonna fuck with my mind. And trust me, it does it very, very often and hard, and every time I mess up with my diet, every time I miss the workout, every time I do something which is bad for my body, it starts to fuck with my mind. Now, I've spoken many times before on this channel about the importance of physical health, about exercise, diet, sleep, and so on, so I'm not gonna dive too deep into that today. You can go down to the description and find the link to my products page where there's a free guide, which is a 30-day challenge for everyone who wants to change their lives. It's basically all about improving your physical health and diving deep into the uncomfortable situations, so you can go and check that out. It's completely free once again, but just remember that if you treat your body like crap, it's gonna fuck with your mind. It's gonna make your mind an anxious mess. The main 4 things to remember are these. Clean up your diet. If you don't know what's in the food, don't eat it. Stick to real whole foods. Cut out processed junk and don't eat too much sugar. Go to the gym, run, or get activities at least 3 to 4 times every single week. Doesn't matter what you do, just make it consistent. Cold showers. Start with 30 seconds of cold water. It sucks, but that's the point. Train yourself to handle discomfort. It builds grit, focus, and energy. Sleep is a non-negotiable. Get at least 7 to 9 hours every single night. And yeah, by the way, early wake ups are a cheat code for everything. It's literally the best thing that you can do for your productivity. One of the best things for your health as well if you actually go to bed at time. And there are probably 100 more benefits that I could list out right now, but I'm not going to do that for the sake of this video. And yeah, I should also say that if you actually want to speed up the process and make it work, you can check out the Performance Archive, which is this massive base of knowledge which is constantly expanding, where I've put everything that I've learned over the past couple of years about health, focus, energy, eliminating ADHD, and a whole bunch of other useful things that are going to help you I'm even going to go as far as to say that it's going to help you to literally change your life. So if that's something you're looking for, you can definitely check that out. The price is going to increase, so if you want to get it, the best time is right now, but once again, it's optional. You can also use all the free guides and everything that you can find as well. Step 3, exercise agency. The main point here is to question stuff. Question everything that you see. Here's the thing. Most people don't question the way things are. They follow the script handed to them without really stopping to ask if that's what they actually want. It's easier that way and safer too. But if you want to get out of the cycle that you're in, you have to start questioning everything. Don't just accept things because everyone else is doing it or because it's how it's always been, because it's just stupid if you actually think about it, which most people don't. Go against the crowd and start small. If your friends are doing something that doesn't vibe with you, just say no to them. If they're asking you to go out and drink at Friday night, just say no to them and do something that you really care about. I'm not telling you to go this full self-improvement grind mode, read tons of books in the evening, work on your business or whatever, but just do something that you actually want to do. Not that other people want to do, not that they say that you should do. You don't owe people anything, and that's something that I want you to remember. The most powerful thing you can do is start asking yourself, does this align with me, or does this actually make sense to me? Because a lot of people just go along with things because it's easy or because it's what everyone else is doing, not because it's their idea. So question stuff, ask yourself things, and put yourself into the driving seat. I promise you it's one of the funnest things that you can ever possibly do. Alright, so with all that being said, thank you for watching this video until the very end. If you found it useful, then don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to this channel, and also don't forget to check out the description for all of the relevant links. Once again, thank you for watching, and I wish you an amazing day. Take care.